Hi, Ian Roberts, and welcome to our laboratory of the painting process. I had intended to talk about foreground, middle ground, and background today based on what I said last week, but a few viewers have been expressing interest in what do I mean by subject-driven and design-driven, and it's so fundamental or foundational that I thought it would be worthwhile going into that today. And I thought I'd give you 3 examples. The first example is a pair of drawings. Now the first drawing, when you look at it, you can see this is a subject-driven drawing. We can see the details, the small shapes. If we're doing this drawing, we're going to have to render every little bit, and whatever comes next is what we tend to render next. And there's no big vision holding it together. And here, we could say is a design-driven drawing. There's big value masses that are making it work, and we can see them from across the room. And you could imagine you could paint this whether it was highly detailed or just in big simple masses. Still, the big value masses would be driving it. You'd see it from across the room, and you could say the drawing has a vision that is holding it together. So we can talk about this as a right brain, or maybe the difference between a right brain and a left brain way of looking at drawing and painting. Now, whether that is still an accurate neurological truth about it's actually coming from the right brain or the left brain, certainly at this point, the idea of different modes of perception, one being spatial, the right brain being holistic and spatial, and the left brain being more analytic and linear. So if you're just looking at things and painting sort of whatever's next and hoping it all adds up into a painting, chances are the vision part of it won't actually be there. The design part won't be there. It's more like the right brain is a design or shape-driven machine, and we see that sort of holistic quality first. So I'm going to show you 2 sets of paintings. They were done for either American Artist or the Artist magazine. I can't remember an article I did for them. So here in the first painting, this was a painting I did from a photograph that I'd already made my own design-driven painting from, which I'll show you in a sec. So this just shows the scene as it is in the photograph, or part of it, and everything's in its right place. Everything seems to be working. It's nice and polite. And here's my painting that I did from that photograph. And you can see, obviously, there's a huge and dramatic difference in how the design-driven one and the more kind of linear, additive one is working. And here's a second set. This scene I painted for the article from my plein air painting. And it looks fine. I mean, yeah, okay, I see what's going on there. I think if I were actually painting this as an actual painting, I would have done a little bit more in the far distance. But look at this painting. This is the plein air painting I did. And I was out there working on location, and all of a sudden these 2 shadows cast by clouds hit the foreground and the midground, and I got, oh my God, look at that. And I just held it in my mind as best I could and painted it just as I sort of saw that vision of masses of light and dark. So last week I talked about the idea of 3-dimensional world translated under the 2-dimensional surface of the back of our eye and then reconstructed in 3 dimensions in our head. And I want to continue and elaborate on that idea, because when you're painting, there's really 2 opposing qualities of that 3-dimension to 2-dimension thing going on simultaneously. The first is that the 3-dimensional world, you need to see that holistically, this idea of design-driven, as these flat value masses, thinking in terms of design. Someone said to me, I've got hands that look like claws. But anyway, that's what I got. So you've got that one thing happening where you're taking the 3-dimensional world and in sort of a right brain way, seeing it as these value masses. And then the second one The opposing quality is you're taking those flat value masses, design shapes, and then you're having to go from that two-dimensional quality and craft 3 dimensions on the two-dimensional surface to gain the three-dimensional illusion of representational art. So these two things have to go on simultaneously, and they're foundational. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to talk to you more about that, about how you can master that skill, because it really is fundamental to making dramatic improvements in your painting. So I hope you found that engaging. I hope you found that helpful. I want to deal with a couple of really foundational principles over the next couple of weeks. And next week, I want to look at value, black and white. It's one of the reasons why color can be so confounding, because we can be so engaged in the color, but if we're not getting the values of those colors right, then the thing we're trying to represent as having form starts to flatten out. So it's a really foundational principle, I think, in terms of carving an illusion in representational painting. If you have any friends you think might be interested in this, you could share a link with them. If you haven't signed up on my email list, you can do that through my website. That way you'll get the videos automatically every week if you're not getting them now. Have a great week. Hope you get some painting done, and see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.